Hey, hey, hey! Smoke weed every day. Hey, everybody! Well, for now, I'm going to be going through this game for quite a bit. I'm going to try to do all the content because they apparently are looking for people to test their game out. There's a survey at the end of the game that they ask you to take, and but yeah, I'll show you that after. I'll show you that. Oh, down here. No wonder it can't. I need a better one. I mean, my friends keep giving me this. It works better than the mics I've got now, which are shit. Works better than Alright. Yeah, we're supposed to go through this game. I'm gonna test it out. I've played quite a few games like it. Well, not quite a few, I guess. It's kind of like a mixture between Slay the Spire and Griftlands, if you've ever played those games. So, yeah, let's go. Lee. Get it? Because obviously Bruce Lee. Close combat. I'm kind of wondering why. See, when you play Griftlands or Slay the Spire, it's a turn-based combat like this is. It's still turn-based, but it's kind of like a Final Fantasy thing where you're on your party, you and your party on the left side, and all the monsters are on the right side, and that's where you stay, right? There's no moving around on the map or nothing like this. Well, that's what they did is they've changed that to where you do move around on the map, but it's this tiny little thing. It's this tiny little map, and basically, well, with this guy, anyways, he hits it. He'll hit the enemy in front of him, the side of him, back of him, and to the left of him. Left, right, front, back. He'll hit all those enemies, so your objective is to get near as many enemies as possible for it to all go off. And I don't know. I see they're trying to be original with it and not totally just rip off these two games. But I don't know. We're gonna play here a few. I've already played with the this one, Playing with Fire. Played with that deck. We're gonna go through these two and just check the game out. Give it a fair chance. Oh, so see, last guy, my boss battle was something else. It wasn't this. I wonder if that's because I changed my deck or if it's just new every time. So you're never really told how to use these. That's a problem, guys. You're never really told how to use these. You're never told what these are. So you're never really told how to use this. That's a problem, guys. Never told what these are. Okay, so I do like the mechanic of you don't just go and fight whatever's there. Other things start to show up if you don't kill the originals. You know, I like that. It forces you to keep an eye on which guys were in there originally. The deeper you get, the more dilapidated this place becomes. Strange flora grows over everything, and the air is damp. It feels as if the walls are breathing. A muffled cry for help reverberates through the blackened hallway in front of you. It sounds like the voice of a child, perhaps of skin. Oh, no, 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 no. You ain't fooling me. Children of the corn. La 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 la. La la la. Come play with us. In a random patch. What's a patch? Transform a card in your deck. Choose a card to be added to your deck. Oh, what's a patch? When you add a card to get, gain $5. Oh, that's one of these things. Oh, no, 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 no. Ain't fooling me. What do these mean? The arrows. See, why is that there? And what are these? What are these little balls? You never tell us, and you can't just like highlight it. Hmm. Oh, does that mean... Okay. So this robot is about to appear here, right? One of these dots for audience. Audience, what do you think the dots are for? I definitely need a better tutorial for it. What are those bombs? Are they... it is a bomb. Which one of these was it? Ah! Is one of you robots. Ah! And it moves you off the square when it explodes. Ah, it was this guy. Ah, lost track of him. There we go. I haven't seen this burn mechanic work yet. Attack cards that cost 2 energy, deal 4 extra damage. At the end of the 6th round, deal 30 damage to all enemies. Do I even get to a 6th round? When you enter a fight, gain 1 strength for every $200 you have. I just barely have $200 now. Reduce all burn damage received by 2. When you enter a shop, gain 30 bucks. This turn, the next 0 card you play is played 2 additional times. Ooh, sweet. That's a sweet card right there. Jab applies 2 burns on an enemy. Deal 3 times. Deal damage. Deal 3 damage 5 times. Spawn an explosive barrel. And then consume the card. Deal 5 damage, you gain 5 shield. Oh, that's nice. I like that. I like that one a lot. Teleport to the opposite side of an inline target. Apply fragile to them. Consume. Deal 3 damage. Apply 4 burn. Push. Consume. I'm gonna go with this. Even though I don't think I can get to the 6th round. We'll find out. We'll find out. Because all those enemies are gonna drop dead. Oh, that's the guy I fought last time. I don't know what he's doing there in the window. You know, I kind of don't get the enemies of... granted, I haven't seen the other characters. But, I don't know, man. Martial artists against machines, just... I don't know, man. I wouldn't exactly call it peanut butter and jelly, you know what I'm saying? But I see what you're trying to do. You gotta come out with something new, right? Something original. Get that hook, you know? Yeah. Why are my attacks so weak? Ooh, man, didn't last long with that deck. Wait a minute. Yeah, I started with this. Now let's go to defensive deck. Wow, I gained burn. Get out of here. To draw 2 cards, I gotta draw 3. I get 3 burn. No, that's not good. Unless I do this and then this. I don't like this deck at all. It gives you nothing to attack with. There should be a way to spread your burns onto the enemy, right? I mean that's what I think this deck is going for. But I don't see nothing. I see there was a card to transfer other enemies' burns to a certain enemy, but no way to remove your burns and put it on them, which would make perfect sense in this deck. And you're just set. Let's give ourselves burns. Let's give ourselves burns. Let's give ourselves burns. I mean, it should be you. There should be another card You transfer your burns to the enemy. Cause look, I ain't got nothing to attack with, man. Well, I mean, what are we doing here? I'm gonna turtle it the whole time while I'm damaging myself. Holy shit, a punch card. Which one was it? Was it this guy? It's either this guy or this guy, I think. Am I burning? Yep. I like how it hits him too with that roundhouse. It should. Oh, come on! It's gotta be this guy then, right? Oh. Ah, finally. That match sucked. Deal 3 damage 2 times. Yeah, I obviously I didn't get to the 6th round. Or wait, was it the last day? Yeah, it was the last day. Deals 3 damage 2 times. Gain 3 shield. Start your turn. Add 1 jab. What's a loop chance? Oh, so I can keep doing it. And this heals me. Man, I'm missing a lot of health. Last time I got all the way to the end here. I'm really disappointed. That last match was awful. Oh, come on, don't do that. Now I can't hit you both at the same time. Oh. Ah, come on. No, I'm not burning it. Those were the two originals. What? I'm not okay. Now I'm lost. What? When you enter a fight, gain 1 strength for every 2. Yeah, blah 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 blah. Four HP. I don't think we're gonna make it. We're definitely not gonna make it. We'll get some bitches. Ooh! You got me, partner. Oh! Alright, just for us. So I have it here. In all one video. We're gonna go with 3rd deck here and we're gonna see how far we get. Yeah, this is the only worth worthwhile deck. The other ones are just awful. There's not enough attack cards. Granted, I've only played this game. I've only just read. This will be my third. This will be my fourth run, and this will be my second time playing this deck. I should just have to get rid of this card, right? This guy card. Yeah. Okay. I guess I thought it was just the two original guys you gotta get rid of, and then you were done. So what determines when I'm done? Like, shouldn't there see, like, kill 5 enemies? Or kill 4 enemies? Or kill 2 enemies? There's nothing telling me... Well, I'm not seeing it. Oh, no, it's not. It's not. No, it's not doing anything. This guy just came in. Is it one of these two I have to defeat? There we go. So that time it was all the original guys plus one guy I had to kill in order to advance to the next level. Gain 4 shield. Easy defense cards give 1 additional shield. Gain 1 energy. Oh jeez. That's a level 6 card, holy cow. These are always easy. Put an attack card in my hand, yes please. The carnivorous room is filled with endless rows of outgoing freight. Dozens of automated forklifts roam about, mindlessly placing new crates into various aisles, each marked with their own outgoing location. Couldn't hurt to take a peek at what they're shipping. Inspect the crate. Literally, let's see, gain 30 coins. Choose a card to be added to your deck. Gain a random patch. Why is this flashing? Ooh. We're about up to our 10th attack. Let's just get 30 bucks. Thank you. Yeah. Oh. I gotta beat this one too. Yeah. At the end of their 6th round, deal 30 damage. Oh, we know that, don't fucking work. At the beginning of your turn, if you are under 15 HP, gain 2 strength. Whenever you play a mod card, gain 5 shield. Attack cards that cost 0 and you deal 3 extra. Ooh. There's our jabs. Yep. Yep. Alright, here we go. I'm feeling a good round, man. Feeling it. Woo, that's a lot of enemies. 1, 2, 3, 4. You dirty. Now, see, that time it was exact. Guys, the original guys were out there. Once I got rid of them, it passed the stage. You're confusing me, man. But alright. Alright, there we go. Use that. When you enter a fight, gain 1 strength. Reduce all burn damage received by 2. When you enter a fight, gain 1 strength. This would be good for that other one where you're constantly setting yourself on fire. When you enter a fight, gain 1 strength for every $200 you have. Alright. I don't know, man. Maybe set that a bit lower. Or make it 2 strength for every. That would make more sense. 2 strength for every $200. Ooh, let's upgrade a card. Yeah. Those jab cards are money, son. Let's choose a card. Oh yeah, there you go. That's a good card too. Yeah, get beside me. Come on. No, don't run away. You dickle. Makes me want to go after you. This deck has everything. It has. I don't know why you're calling it the total offense. It has everything. It has defense cards. It has more than enough attack cards. And you can heal yourself. His deck is definitely the OP deck. There's no other reason to use those other decks, I don't think. I'll play through it one more time just to get 2-2-2-2, you know. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Yeah. Play 5 burn double adjacent targets. Ooh. Let's do that. And we can throw fire now. And we can throw fire now. Deal 10 damage and apply 2 fret. Ooh. I never want to discard my hand, so let's trade that. Oh yeah. Let's take care of these fools. Ain't got nothing on me. Strength. You know that's my favorite card. Here's my favorite combo. Bah, bah, bah. Bah, bah. Bah, bah, bah. This guy. Mr. Counterattack. Good cut. Good. This is the first enemy I'm like, okay. Good job. This little motherfucker. He's got some strength. Haha, now you're on fire. I want a counterattack. Is there a thing for that? I want to do what he's doing. Hit back when people hit me. If you end your turn without moving, gain 5 shield. Your first attack in a fight deals 5 extra damage. At the beginning of your turn, if you are under 15 HP, gain 2 strength. Ooh, man. I like this one though, because I rarely move. Let's go ahead and get that heal. Get up the back to top spot. Top her off. Oh boy, we ain't got a lot of cash though. Only enough to buy cards. Oh yeah. Let's see what these are anyway. Your first attacking blah blah blah. 5 extra chain. At the beginning of your turn, if it's under HP, advance attacks, deal 4 damage. Every 4 turns, gain 1 energy. Whenever you play 5 shield cards, draw 1 card. Whenever you enter a shop, get 30 bucks. Spawn explosive barrel. That's in. Draw 2 cards. Burn 3. Yep. Deal 5 damage. You get that. Oh yeah. Alright. Alright. We got our awesome cards. Let's see what we want here. 30 bucks. Heal for 10 HP. Definitely don't need that. Increase your current HP by 2. Oh, let's go with the cash. Cash money. On the papa. There you go. Now you move down here. Oh, you're an archer. You want to be over there, huh? Okay. I see you. Hit. Yeah, still at full health. I never get burned on this guy so far. Deal 3 damage 2 times. Apply 1 fragile. Deal 8 damage, apply 1 fragile. Yeah, that's like, there we go. Oh boy. What do we got? Push adjacent enemies and props. Nah. Yeah, I keep forgetting to use these. I don't know if it's just me, but maybe put a reminder to use these. I don't know, just an idea. It may be my old brain. My old brains forget stuff. I get the old dementia. Oh boy, I'm taking damage quick. This got real. Oh, I wish I could take this. Ooh, this guy's tough. Yeah, ain't getting through my shields. Maybe give this guy less shields? I don't know. Less shield options? But then, yeah, you're kind of going against a code that I like to have, is that you shouldn't debuff things. You shouldn't debuff things. You should make whatever's lacking better instead of. Yeah, it's a lot more work. Yeah, it's a lot more work. But this deck is just OP as fuck compared to the other cards. There's like literally, I don't think there's any other reason to use the other decks so far. Again, I will play the other two decks again here. And we'll see. We'll see. Oh, now he's getting out. Oh, you dickhole. Ah, he's back up to full health too. Right on. Mr. Santa Claus. Oh, man. I'm dying. I'm dying. Was he counterattacking me? Oh, wow. I don't know, man. That might be a little too hard. That fucking difficulty spike just... It went through the roof when I got in there. I thought he'd be dead after I... And then he got out of the vehicle, and he's at full health. And he can counterattack me, apparently. What is it? Man. Alright, here we go. Oh, we got a new card unlocked. Awesome. Apply to any free tile. Apply burn to adjacent targets. Consume. Sounds like an awesome card. Alright. Got two more to go through again. Whew. Let's see, we've done that twice. Let's go with defense again. You dirty bastard. I'm coming for you first, Mr. Long Range. Oh, that was dumb. I don't like this deck at all, man. It's like, hey, you want a deck with not very many attack cards, and you burn yourself at the same time while you have shields. That's cool. I forgot which one of them was. Oh no! Oh no! See, I'm not defeating them fast enough, man. This deck sucks. Deck sucks, bro. You need to work on it. I can't. I wish I could give you more specific advice. Alright, last round here. And I'm gonna post the video. Alright, we didn't do so bad that round. Not too bad. Yeah, everything that does high damage. Get it, get it, get it, get it. Get that money. Deal 5 damage, apply 1 fragile, add 1 kunai card to your discard pile. At the beginning of the return, if you are burning, draw 2 cards. Deal 8 damage, push, yeah. Oh, I got some money to spend here. When you win a fight, heal for 2 HP. Right on. Your first attack in a fight deals 5 extra damage. When you enter a fight, apply 2 weak to adjacent enemies. When you enter a fight, gain 1 strength. When you defeat an enemy unit, gain 2 strength until the end of turn. We played 5 shield power. I'll go with this. And ooh, jab cards! Yay! Yes! More jab cards. Oh boy. I don't like this stage. Ugh. Alright. Shield stayed up. Hold strong. Bring it. Oh, I can't move. I always get a move card. I can't do anything. That's weak sauce, brother. I should always have... Oh, wait. Never mind. I do have move out. Sorry. My bad. It's a different card. It looks different. Yeah. You should always have a move card. I'm pretty sure you already have that handled. I like the music. Can't tell. Very 80s-ish. Still don't know about the robots, brother. Robots and martial arts, man. It's original concept for sure. I would say this is probably the second best deck. That defense deck is just awful. Again, a card that transfers your burning to other units might work. Might make the deck work. Ah, yes. Still at full health. Oh yeah. When you enter a shop, heal for 5 HP. Hang on. At the start of your turn, deal 2 damage to all... Oh. When you defeat an enemy unit, gain 2 strength. I'll go with the Reaper. Upgrade a card. What shall it be? What's that? I got that jab card. What's that jab card? Add. There we go. You come across a lone engineer tinkering in the back of the robotics lab. He's so invested in his work he doesn't even notice you standing over his shoulder. It appears to be some sort of prototype infusion. You decide he is the perfect candidate for some good old-fashioned interrogating. Where's the money? Oh, yeah. I don't want to give you money. You give me money. Heal for 10 HP. Use a card in there. Choose a card. Cleanse to burn. At the beginning of your turn, if you burn a card, deal 3 damage 3 times. There we go. Alright, we got to the middle. Yeah. I'm coming for you, Mr. Long Range. I don't like you. Oh, yeah, I don't want to push him. I feel like you should be able to move more in one space. Maybe 2? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Infusion. Deal 10 damage to an adjacent enemy. If lethal, gain $20. Nah. I do need to start using these. I keep forgetting. Use one right now. Yeah, that's how you deal with that guy. Push kicks. Oh no. Haha, you couldn't get me. Stupid. He's stupid. We're gonna push kick. Push kick. Get out of here. Alright. Yay. Okay. I'm liking this deck better. I can keep this swamp jerk away from me. suck, man. There we go. Get nice and close. Yep, get nice and close. He even counterattacks for the other guys? Oh, that's low, brother. Suck. Ah. Stop countering me. Ah, hit me now. Come on, bring it. Weak. Yeah, bring it again, motherfucker. That's right. Fuck out of here. I should have did that first. Haha, you suck. Dick. Die! Oh! I hate that guy. Advanced attack, deal 4 extra damage. When you enter a shop, heal. At the end of the 6th round, blah 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 blah. We never get to a 6th round. Maybe lower that to the 5th. I don't know. I never get to a 6th round. For that to apply for anything. I mean, granted, it's a nuke. But, I don't know. Maybe lower the amount. If you don't want people getting in all the time. Or to, I don't know, 15. But change it to 5th round, 4th, maybe even 4th round. We're definitely gonna heal. You enter a fight, gain 1 strength for every $200 you have. Blah, 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 blah. I never have $200 after. Usually, when I get $200, it's boop, store time. At 6th round, blah, blah, blah. At the end of your turn, you have no shield, gain 6 shields. I usually have it. Because it's going to take more than 6 to block anything. Gain 1 energy, draw 1 card. What? Oh. Why is it so high, brother? And this. How do you even get 9 energy? Dude, I've never been above 5 because it's only lets you add 1. How do you get 9 energy? Oh, yeah. That's a good card. And we'll save the rest of our money. Discarded remains of infinity mechs is a common sight in these hallways, but the pungent mold growing on these scalps is abnormal. Sure, there seems to be some strange flora sprouting up all over the decrepit floor, but nothing like this. This mold's moving. As you lean down, you can literally see portions of the green slime creep along the middle surface like tightly woven blankets of slugs. Ugh. This must have something to do with your nitro leaking from the mech's power sources. What do we want? Gain 5 charges for each of your infusions. Ugh. Upgrade a card. Analysis plus, huh? I don't know what that is. Brain! What's up, Krang? Yeah, you could be long range. Oh no, I'm dying so fast! No! Oh my god, I'm so dead. Not looking good. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Ah! See, man? These decks suck, brother. Yeah, there's really no reason not to go to that. Alright, we're gonna go take the survey down. Oh, poops. Oh, I forgot it. There we go. What do they call it? Artifacts? great mood, great visuals, great music, great sound design, great game design. UI could use some work. Uh, Again, I highly recommend you put a reminder to use those little relics, like +1, give yourself +1 energy. Dude, for the life of me, I couldn't remember to use those. I don't know if anybody else has that problem or if it's just me, but they haven't used them in a while. Just put a little arrow up there, like ding, ding, ding. Hey, you have these, you know. The advice is this video. Hope you guys check it out. I am doing it for you. So, yeah, I really hope you... Let's put up a video. And then, okay. We'll send this after I get done making the video. I don't use an email, but yeah. Here's my Discord if anybody wants to come. But that's gonna be it for now. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and put this on YouTube for them. And I'll be back on later. Definitely be on by 8 to try out some new demos that I haven't played yet. So, yeah, hope you guys tune in. And thanks for watching me. I really appreciate it. Hit that subscribe. Hit that like. Yada, yada, yada. Blah, 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 blah. Give me money. But, man, I'll see y'all later. Have a good one. Deuces.